Hello, thank you for joining me. So today we're doing Sanhedrin Daf 34 Amud A from the Standard Shas edition. And let's go. Matama de Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. The Gemara explains what is the reason of Rabbi Yossi, son of Rabbi Yehuda. The verse states, "But one witness shall not testify against any person that he die." One can infer that he died in the matter concerning which he does not testify, but does not testify to acquit. The Gemara asks, and what is the reasoning of the rabbi? Reish Lakish says, a witness cannot offer any statement beyond his testimony because it appears as though he's biased in his testimony. The Mechize Kadonogea do so. Most commentators explain that the witness is concerned that if his testimony causes the accused to be found liable, he could potentially be determined to be a conspiring witness and would receive the punishment the accused was to have received. Accordingly, the phrase appears as though he is biased is ostensibly difficult, as he does in fact have a definite benefit in having the accused be acquitted. Nevertheless, this phrase is employed in a similar manner in other contexts, and that's from the Rabbi Meir Arak. By contrast, the Meiri explains that the witness is concerned that relatives of the accused may seek to take revenge if he is found guilty based on the testimony of this witness. Accordingly, one can suggest that since he does not derive a definite legal benefit from the accused being acquitted, the phrase appears as though he is biased is in fact precise. If the court finds the accused liable based on the witness's testimony, the witness could later be accused of being a conspiring witness. Therefore, it's to his advantage to have the court acquit the accused. The Gemara asks, and as for the rabbis, in what manner did they interpret him that he died? The Gemara answers, they established it as teaching the halacha with regard to one of the students. As is taught in the Braita, if one of the witnesses said, I have the ability to teach a reason to acquit him, from where it derived that the court will not listen to him? Menayin she'ein shumin lo, Rabbeinu Yitzchak of Dan Pierre and the Ran explain that this does not mean that the witness is disregarded, as it is taught in the Mishnah 48, that even the accused, who is certainly biased, is listened to if he raises an exculpatory claim. Never heard that one before. Rather, it means that in contrast to a student sitting before the court, and somebody elevated to the court, if he suggests an exculpatory claim, the witness is not so elevated. The verse states, one witness shall not testify. From where is it derived that if there is one of the students who said, if a student attempts to state a claim to deem the accused liable, the court silences him. That's the Rambam Sefer Shot in Hilchos Sanhedrin 10:8. I have the ability to teach a reason to deem him liable. From where is it derived that the court does not listen to him? The verse states, but one witness shall not testify against any person that he die. The Mishnah teaches, in cases of capital law, one who initially teaches a reason to deem the accused liable may then teach a reason to acquit, but one who initially teaches a reason to acquit him may not return and teach a reason to deem him liable. Rav says they taught this halacha only with regard to the time of deliberation of the court. B'shas masa ramatan v'chulu. The halacha that a judge who had stated a reason to acquit the accused may not say a reason to deem liable applies only during the deliberations, but when the time to vote arrives, he can vote as he sees fit. But at the time of the verdict, one who initially teaches a reason to acquit may return to teach a reason to deem him liable. B'shas gamadin, melamed chozer melamed chova. It seems unreasonable to dispute this opinion of Rav, as a judge who is certain that he erred in assessing that the accused is innocent should not be forced to vote at the time of the verdict to acquit. The Ran suggests that this could be an extension to halacha derived from the earlier verse, and the innocent and the righteous you shall not slay, in Exodus 23:7, that once the accused has been acquitted, the court cannot retry his case under any circumstance. The similar halacha may be applied to an individual judge, and he may not change his vote to find the accused liable. The Gemara raises an objection from a Mishnah in 48. The following day, i.e. the day after the initial deliberations, the judge would arrive early and come to court. One who yesterday was of the opinion to acquit says, I said to the acquit, and I acquit in my place. I stand by my statement to acquit. And one who yesterday was in the opinion to deem him liable says, I said to deem him liable, and I deem him liable in my place. One who yesterday taught a reason to deem him liable may then teach a reason to acquit, but one who yesterday taught a reason to acquit may not then teach a reason to deem him liable. The Gemara explains the objection. On the following day is at the time of the verdict, and the Mishnah rules that a judge who has said to acquit may not change his opinion. The Gemara questions this reading of the Mishnah, and according to your reasoning, are there no deliberation on the following day? The deliberation may resume on the next day. Therefore, one can say that when the Mishnah teaches that the judge may not change his opinion with regard to the time of the deliberations, the Gemara suggests, come and hear a proof from the continuation of that Mishnah, which teaches that if the number of judges who deem him liable is one more than the number of judges who acquit, they continue to deliberate the matter. These judges against those judges, until one of them deems him liable, sees the validity of the statement of those who acquit, and changes his position, and the court does not condemn someone to death by the majority of one judge. The Gemara states its proof. And if it is so, that the one who initially teaches the reason to acquit may return and teach a reason to deem him liable, the Mishnah also teaches the opposite possibility. The Gemara explains, the Tana is searching for scenarios of acquittal. He is not searching for scenarios of liability. It may be that the halacha is the same in the opposite case, but the Tana prefers to employ an example of acquittal. The Gemara suggests, come and hear a proof from a Braita. As Rabbi Yossi ben Hanina says, in a case where there was one of the students who argued to acquit and then died, if one of the judges or even a student stated a reason to acquit the accused in a case of capital law and then died, when the court counts the vote to determine the verdict, they count him among those who acquit. Sanhedrin 10:3. The court views him as if he were alive and standing in his place and voting to acquit. The Gemara asks, but why? According to the opinion of Rav, that a judge may change his opinion at the time of the verdict, let us say, perhaps if that student were alive, he would retract his opinion and find the accused liable. The Gemara explains, now, in any event, he did not retract from his opinion. The assumption is that he would not have changed his opinion, although one can do so. The Gemara questions this explanation, but the sages sent a statement from the Eretz Yisrael. According to this version of the statement of Rabbi Yossi ben Hanina, he engaged in a dispute with our teacher Rav. Apparently, the previous explanation, which reconciles the opinions, is incorrect. The Gemara answers that the tradition was not accurate, and it was stated that he does not engage in a dispute with Rav in Mutza. Some explain that the Gemara is not amending the text of the statement sent from Eretz Yisrael. Rather, the message sent from Eretz Yisrael was engaged in a dispute with our teacher. The Gemara first understood that this was in a straightforward manner, and then explains that it is to be understood as a rhetorical question. Does he engage in a dispute with our teacher? And that's from the Hamar Vayhi. The Gemara suggests, come and proof from a Braita. After the innocent deliberations, two judges scribes stand before the court. The judges scribes record the arguments of each judge whether to acquit or to deem liable. The judges forgot or misremember what they said. The scribes are mine and one must say for sure in Sanhedrin 12:3. One on the right and one on the left, and they write the statements of those who acquit the accused, statements of those who find liable. The Gemara explains the proof. Granted, they write the statements of those who find the accused liable, even though they may not change their opinions, and on the following day they may see another reason to find the accused liable, not the reason they gave the day before. And once this new reason is given, the court is required to perform a suspension of the trial until the following day, as they may not issue a verdict of the cases on the same day as the deliberations. But what is reading the scribes write the statement of those who acquit the accused? It is not because of Allah that if the judges would see another reason to find the accused liable, they would not pay heed to them. In order to ensure the judges not change their opinion, the scribes write their statements. The Gemara says no. The reason why their statements is that so that two of the judges should not say one explanation to acquit from two different verses. Two judges who cite one explanation for a matter based on two different verses are counted as one. In accordance with the statement of Rabbi Yochanan, Sefer Shoftim Hilchot Sanhedrin 10:5, if two judges each say the same reason to acquit, but derive their reason from different verses, they are not counted as two votes. As Rav Ashi asked Rabbi Yochanan, if two of the judges say one explanation to acquit from two different verses, what is halacha? Rabbi Yochanan said to him, we count them only as one, as it is clear that one of the derivations is an error. The Gemara discusses the ruling of Rabbi Yochanan. From where is this matter derived? Rabbi says, as the verse states, God has spoken once, twice I have heard this. Shatam Zer Shamati, stating that one understood two matters from one verse is a praise of God. A verse is stating that the two verses teach the same matter is implied criticism of Moshe, that strength belongs to God. Psalm 62:12, Rabbi explains, one verse is stated by God, and from it emerge several explanations, but one explanation does not emerge from several verses. The school of Rabbi Shmuel taught that the verse states, is not my word like a fire, says the Lord, and like a hammer that breaks the rock into pieces, Jeremiah 23:29. Just as this hammer breaks the stone into several fragments, so too one verse is stated by God, and from it emerges several explanations. The Gemara clarified, what is considered one explanation from two different verses? As ever said, as we learn in the Mishnah Zerachim 83a, with regard to certain items that disqualify from being sacrificed above Nisho, once they've been placed on the altar, they are nevertheless sacrificed, but the altar sanctifies only items that are suited for it. As the Gemara will explain, the Tanaim disagree as to what is considered suited for the altar. Rabbi Yeshua says, any item that is suited to be consumed on the fire by the fire on the altar, e.g. burnt offerings and the portions of other offerings burned on the altar, if it is descended upon the altar, even if it is disqualified from being sacrificed as Nisha, it should not descend. Since it was sanctified by its ascent upon the altar, it is sacrificed upon it. As stated, it is the burnt offering on the fire upon the altar, Leviticus 6:2, which is derived just as with regard to a burnt offering that is suited to be consumed by the fire on the altar. If it ascended, it shall not descend. So to regard to any item that is suited to be consumed by the fire on the altar, if it ascended, it shall not descend. With regard to any item that is suited to be consumed by the fire, if the priest ascended with it on the top of the altar, even if it is found to be disqualified, it is not brought down, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Ben Gamliel. I'm going to say for word here, Mr. Makdushin 3:3. Rabbi Gamliel says, with regard to any item that is suited to ascend upon the altar, even if it is not typically consumed, if it ascended, it shall not descend. Even if it is disqualified from being sacrificed by Nisha, as is stated, it is a burnt offering on the fire upon the altar, from which it is derived just as the burnt offering that is fit for the altar. If it ascended, it shall not descend. So too, any item that is fit for the altar, if it ascended, it shall not descend. Rav Zeved explained. And what do the two of them include by means of these explanations? Qualified offering teaching that if they ascend, they do not descend. One says Rabbi Yeshua brings proof for this halacha from the term on the prior, and one says Rabbi Gamliel brings proof to this halacha from the term upon the altar. An example of one explanation from two different verses. The Gemara questions this example, but there Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Gamliel disagree. B'ha Hasam Lag Peligi. Rav Zeved, who cited this as an example of one explanation from two different verses, that apparently understood that Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Gamliel were explaining the statement of the first Tana, with each offering a different source for his ruling, Hamar by he. The explanation cannot therefore be identical, as the last clause of that mission teaches the difference between the statement of Rabbi Gamliel and the statement of Rabbi Yeshua with regard to disqualified blood and libations. Nitzachim. Wine offered on the altar is referred to as a libation. Wine libations were brought together with peace offerings, burnt offerings of animals, and the leper's sin offering and guilt offering. Different quantities of wine were required depending on the animal that was sacrificed. 1/4 of a hin, a 3 log between 90 and 1,800 milliliters, accompanying any offering from the flock other than a ram. 1/3 of a hin or 4 log was bought with a ram, and half a hin or 6 log was bought with a bullock. Libations of wine can also be brought as independent voluntary offerings. The wine was brought to the top of the altar, was poured into a receptacle. From there it flowed through a spigot upon the altar and through a hole on the top of the structure. A drainage channel carried the wine to the Kidron River, which was not consumed by the fire, but do ascend onto the altar. Libations that are found to be disqualified are brought down from the altar in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua, Rambam Sefer Verde Hilchot Mesuli Makdushin Yivotin, and Rabbi Gamliel says they shall not descend, and they are fit to ascend on the altar. And Rabbi Yeshua says they shall descend, and they are not burned on the altar. Rabbi says an example of one explanation from 2 different verses, as it is taught in the Bible of Rabbi Yossi Haglili says, from the fact that it is stated, whatsoever touches the altar shall be sanctified, Exodus 29:37. I would derive that this applies to every item, whether it is suited to be an offering or is unsuited to be an offering. The following verse states, now this is what you shall offer upon the altar, 2 lambs of the first year, day by day continually, Exodus 29:38. From this I derive, just as lambs are suited to be offerings, so do everything that is suited to be an offering is included in the halacha. The Brisa continues. Rabbi Akiva says the offerings discussed in this passage are referred to as a burnt offering in Exodus 29:42. Therefore I derive, just as a burnt offering is suited for the altar, so to everything that is suited for the altar is included in this halacha. Rav Papa explains, and what do the two of them exclude by means of these explanations? Disqualified offerings teaching that they do not become sanctified if they touch the altar. One sage, Rabbi Yossi Haglili, brings proof for this halacha from the term lambs, and one sage, Rabbi Akiva, brings proof for this halacha from the term burnt offering. This is an example of one explanation from the 2 verses. The Gemara questions is that example, but doesn't Rav Adabahava say that the difference between them with regard to a disqualified burnt offering, others of Pasula, if a disqualified burnt offering ascended to the altar, it is not brought down, according to the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. I'm going to say for Verde Hilchot Pasule Hamakdushin T15. The one who brings proof for this halacha from the term lambs holds that lambs, yes, including in this halacha, but a burnt offering is not. And one who brings proof for this halacha from the term burnt offering holds that a burnt offering is also included in this halacha. Rather, Rashi said, an example of one explanation from 2 different verses as taught in the Bible with regard to one who violates the prohibition against slaughtering and offering outside the tent of meeting. The verse states, whatever man there be of the house of Israel that kills an ox or lamb or goat in the camp, or that kills it outside the camp, and to the opening of the tent of meeting he does not bring it to sacrifice an offering to the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord, blood shall be imputed unto that man. He shed blood, and this man shall be cut off from his people. Leviticus 17:3-4. The verse serves to include one who sprinkles the blood of consecrated offering outside the meeting. This is the statement of Rabbi Shmuel. The Rabbos Esa Zorik, one who sprinkles the blood of sacrifice outside the temple, is liable to receive punishment of excision from the world to come, the karet, in accordance with the Brite of Rambam Sefer Verde Hilchot Ma'aser Korbanot 19:3. And the Brite continues. Rabbi Akiva says that when the verse states, whatever man there shall be in the house of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn among them that offers a burnt offering or sacrifice, Leviticus 17:8, it serves to include one who sprinkles blood of consecrated offerings outside of the tent of meeting. Rashi explains, what do the 2 Tanaim include by means of explanation? One who performs sprinkling of blood outside the tent of meeting. One sage Rabbi Yishmael brings proof of this halacha from the phrase blood shall be imputed, and one sage Rabbi Akiva brings proof of this halacha from the term or sacrifice. This is an example of one explanation from 2 different verses. The Gemara questions this example. Doesn't Rabbi Yavahu say that the difference between them is with regard to one who slaughtered the offering and sprinkled the blood? And according to the statement of Rabbi Shmuel, he's liable for only one transgression, and according to the statement of Rabbi Akiva, he's liable for 2 transgressions. The Gemara responds, or wasn't it stated with regard to that Brite that Abai says, Even according to the statement of Rabbi Akiva, he is liable for only one transgression, as the verse states, "In the place that the Lord shall choose in one of your tribes, there you shall offer your burnt offerings, and there you shall do all that I command you." Deuteronomy 12:14. The metaphor one combines all the actions. The Rambam and the Raavad hold that although one be liable to receive kari for each act, they are counted as one with regard to lashes. The Ramah holds that they are considered as one transgression with regard to all punishment, with regard to offering, as one transgression. According to the explanation of Abai, there is in fact no practical dispute between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva with regard to this matter, and it serves an example of one explanation from two different verses. The Mishnah teaches in the case of monetary law, the court judges during the daytime and may conclude deliberations and issue their ruling even at night. But discussing this ruling, the Gemara cites a mnemonic for three of the forthcoming discussions: judgment, answer, incline. Simon Mishpat Ma'ane Mate. The mnemonic is for the three statements of Rab Ahaba Papa in his forthcoming discussion, one here and two on Daf 36 Moshe. Although in addition attributes the first statement here to Rab Ahaba Papa, most of the old manuscripts of the Talmud cite Rab Ahaba Papa instead. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters concerning the time duration derived? Rab Ahaba Papa says, as the verse says, "And let them judge the people at all times," Exodus 18:22, indicating that the judgment can be during the day or at night. The Gemara challenges this explanation. If that is so, that this is the source of the halacha, the court should be able to conduct the initial stage of the trial at night as well. The Gemara explains, is it possible to resolve the matter in accordance with the statement of Rava? As Rava raises a contradiction between two verses, it is written in one verse, "And let them judge the people at all times," indicating the judgment can be during the day or at night. And it is written in another verse, "Then it shall be on the day that he causes his son to inherit that which he has." Deuteronomy 21:16, indicating that cases of inheritance are judged only during the day. Rava explains, how can these texts be reconciled? The verse referring to the day is stated with regard to the initial stage of the trial. It is assumed that the minds of the judges will be sharper during the day. Yom Nischilas Din V'chol. The court does not initiate judicial proceedings at night. In case of monetary law, if the court initiated the proceeding during the day, it can issue a verdict at night. The Rambam rules that if they conducted the entire proceeding at night, the judgment stands after the fact. If the litigants agree that the case heard at night, the court may do to ab initio. The Shema adds that if the litigants appear before the court at night, there is a presumption that they agree to have their case heard at night, even if they don't state explicitly. Sanhedrin 3:3, and the comment of Ramah. And the verse includes the night is stated with regard to the verdict. The Gemara comments, the Mishnah is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Meir. As it's taught in the Bible, Rabbi Meir would say, what is the meaning when the verse states with regard to the priest? According to the word, shall every dispute and every purse saw. Read Deuteronomy 21:5. And what do disputes have to do with leprous sores? Negaim, leprous sores. The affliction referred to in the Torah as sarat is traditionally translated as leprosy, although it is not identical medically to the modern disease of that name. The halachot of leprosy are recorded in the books of Leviticus in the portion of Tazria Mitzorah, see Leviticus chapters 13-14. In the Mishnah tractate Negaim deals exclusively with different types of leprosy. When a symptom appears, it is examined by a priest who either quarantines the person for a certain period or declares immediately that the symptom is not indicative of leprosy. After a leper is healed, he must follow the procedure established by the Torah, Leviticus 14:1-32, part of which is shaving his hair, cutting his hair, and put outside of the temple. After the leper comes to the temple with a lamb for a guilty offering and a log of oil for waving by the priest, and after the sacrificing of the guilt offering, the priest applies some of the animal's blood to the leper's right earlobe, right thumb, and right big toe. Next, the priest takes some of the oil in his hand and sprinkles it 7 times opposite the Holy of Holies. Some of the remaining oil is placed on the earlobe of the leper, his thumb, and his big toe. Finally, some of the remaining oil is placed on the head of the leper. When all this has been done, the leper sacrifices a lamb as a sin offering and the second lamb as a burnt offering. If he is poor, he sacrifices a bird instead of a lamb. for both of these offerings. The Brisa continues. Rather, the verse juxtaposes disputes to leprous sores, teaching that just as leprous sores are viewed by a priest only in the daytime, a priest cannot examine a leprous sore at night, whether to determine that one is a confirmed leper, a quarantine leper, or leper at all, in accordance with the Brisa Rambam Sefer Tahara, Surah 9:6, as it is written, and on the day when the raw flesh appears in him, he shall be impure. Leviticus 13:14. So too disputes are judged only in the daytime, just as leprous sores are viewed by the priest who can see, but not by a blind priest. And the a blind priest, even a priest blind in one of his eyes, and even a priest who sees with difficulty cannot examine leprous sore. Rambam Sefer Torah 9:5. Although it seems self-evident that a blind priest is incapable of examining leprous sore, one might have thought that since in any event the priest would always be accompanied by a scholar to assist him in the examination, perhaps a blind priest is qualified to state a pro forma declaration that a leprous sore is either richly impure or richly pure or impure. Therefore the verse needs to state that he is fit even for this. Or see also the Meiri. As written as far as appears to the priest, Leviticus 31:32. Leviticus 13:12. And so too disputes are judged by sighted judges, not by blind judges. One who is blind is qualified for serving as a judge, but one who is blind in one eye is fit. But that's the Rambam Sefer showed him Hilchos Sanhedrin 2:9 Mishpat 7:2. And the verse exposed leprous sores to disputes, teaching that just as disputes are judged by independent judges, not by judges who are relative to the litigant, such leprous sores are viewed by a priest who are not relative to the afflicted person. The Brisa continues. If these two matters are juxtaposed, one would say that just as disputes are judged specifically by three judges, so too leprous sores are viewed by three judges. And this would be supported by logical inference. If a case involving one's money judged by three judges, is it not clear all the more so that a person himself shall be viewed by three priests? To counter this, the verse states, and he shall be brought to Aaron the priest, or to one of his sons the priest. Leviticus 13:2. From this you have learned that even one priest views leprous sores. One priest may examine a leprous sore to determine its state. Rambam Sefer Tahara Surah 9:2. In any event, as opposed to the Mishnah, Rabbi Meir holds that disputes are judged only during the day. The Gemara later, there was a certain blind man who was living in the neighborhood of Rabbi Yochanan, who said with the judge, and Rabbi Yochanan didn't say anything to him. The Gemara asked, how did he do this? I allow a blind man to judge, but didn't Rabbi Yochanan himself say the halacha according to the opinion ruling of the uninterpreted Mishnah? And then uninterpreted Mishnah near 49b. Anyone who is fit to judge is fit to testify, but there are those who are fit to testify but not fit to judge. And Rabbi Yochanan says the latter clause serves to include one who is blind in one of his eyes, who is fit to testify but is not fit to judge. All the more so, Rabbi Yochanan would agree that the uninterpreted Mishnah holds that one blind in both eyes is qualified for serving as a judge. The Gemara answers, Rabbi Yochanan found another uninterpreted Mishnah, a Mishnah here, indicates that a blind man can serve as a judge. Here is a monetary law called judges during the daytime may conclude deliberations and issue the ruling even at night. The Rif explains that no judge can see at night, therefore if the court can judge at night, it follows that a blind person is fit to serve as a judge. Many other early commentaries explain that a blind person is qualified to serve as a judge from the juxtaposition of the judging of disputes to the viewing of leprous sores. One holds that a court can judge at night, it follows that one does not juxtapose these two matters, and leprous sores cannot be viewed at night. Accordingly, judging case of monetary law is not compared to viewing leprous sores, which sought for disqualifying a blind judge. The Gemara asks, in what way is the strength of this uninterpreted Mishnah? It is not clear why the Gemara assumes that one uninterpreted Mishnah is considered stronger than the other, and the Gemara is mainly attempting to justify Rabbi Yochanan's silence when witnessing a blind person acting as a judge. And if there is an uninterpreted Mishnah supporting that blind person's action, Rabbi Yochanan not protesting in the case. The Haroman suggests that perhaps the blind person would impose his authority on others, and if not for the fact that Rabbi Yochanan was certain he could serve as a judge, and prevented this. Greater than the strength of that uninterpreted Mishnah. Why would Rabbi Yochanan rule in accordance with this one and not with that one? The Gemara explains, if you were saying the interpreted Mishnah that records the opinion of many sages is preferable, as Minchak neither is written in accordance with the individual opinion of Rabbi Meir of the brighter, and if you say it's because the interpreted Mishnah teaches this halacha in the context of halacha of judgment, since the chapter is the primary source for all halacha of judgment, the ruling within it carries greater weight. Okay, I'm going to have to finish now. I'm not finished the daf, but I have to go to my day job, so I wish you all the best, and I hope this was clear and you benefited. Take care, bye.